Warning, if you read a fanfic called Sonic Forces by an author named Waze on either FFN or AO3, then you're going to be massively spoiled. Also, special thanks to Gothic Sorcerer and CodenameGamma for the footage used in this video. Hey guys, it's the Lyoko Gem, and welcome to another video. Now this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and now I'm finally gonna do it. What if I wrote Sonic Forces? Now let's pretend that I was the guy in charge of writing Sonic Forces, and it was my dream version of the game. How would I have written this story? Now, something to note is that this won't contain my infinite and the custom character god theory. That's a potential story I'd like to explore in a future video, but not this one. This will stay pretty close to the main Forces plot, but takes some liberties. So with that being said, let's get started. The game would open up the same as it did. Dr. Eggman monologues, Sonic is in Green Hill, and called back to Sunset Heights, and he would lose to Shadow, Metal, Chaos, and Infinite. Oh, and Zappic is there too! Yeah, you thought that joke was dead, well you're wrong! But continuing on, Sonic is defeated and the world is thrown into the control of Dr. Eggman. Yep, the beginning is left the same except for a few minor things. The first of which is that the last cutscene would open up on Tails fighting and saving people on his own before being caught up by Eggman, having a little banter, and then moving on to the normal cutscene where Sonic comes in and, you know. We'd then get a scene that has a little monologue telling of the events of how Eggman was able to conquer the world. Sort of like the Samurai Jack intro where Aku is narrating, and I could see Eggman doing that sort of thing, so yeah. Make it known that Eggman has taken over the world, destroyed the Resistance base, and stuff like that. And yeah, you heard me. Destroyed the Resistance base, which is something I'll get to. Now, let's start changing things. The next scene would open up on Sunset Heights several months later. It would be cool, you'd get different shots of the city before we go inside a building where our custom character would be hiding under a table, cowering in fear and holding a Wispin. The Egg Pawns would storm into the house and they'd be forced to fight. And with that, we'd have our first Avatar level with Park Avenue. Only we wouldn't have our grappling hook yet, since in the first level we haven't joined the Resistance yet, and well, the Resistance gives that to us. You'd be able to revisit the level later on with the grapple hook for alternate paths and stuff. But the Park Avenue level would go with you running from a pack of robots, before you have a big arena-style boss battle section where you fight a whole pack of them, and it would end there. We'd then launch into a cutscene where the Avatar is found and rescued by several members of the Resistance. The next level would then immediately take you to a place where you wake up in a hospital bed. You get a cutscene where you're introduced to Cream and Cheese, who are working as nurses for the Resistance, and they mention Vanilla as well. We then get Knuckles and Amy walking in, and Amy asking if you're okay. Knuckles says that he's not entirely sure if he should congratulate or slap you for what you did in the city. He explains that your stumbling down Park Avenue attracted a lot of robots' attention and distracted them from an attack that the Resistance was having at the time. But he also says that what you did was incredibly dangerous and stupid. Amy would explain that because of what happened in Sunset, they can't send you back home since all the robots would know to look for you. So Knuckles just says you have no choice but to join the Resistance, and that your first task with them will begin now. So the next scene would throw you into a room where you're with a few randoms along with Knuckles, Amy, Silver, and Chaotix. Knuckles would explain that since the defeat at Sunset Heights all those months ago, Eggman has either been leaving their troops to die or has taken them prisoner up in the Death Egg. That's where we get our mission. We'd have to go up to a chemical plant built off the coast of Hololska that houses a spaceport that they use to get a ship to send them onto the Death Egg. You split up into groups, and one of those groups is the Chaotix, which will be important soon. So that's when you get your first look at the world map for your mission up in Hololska. You also see the two past missions in both Green Hill and Park Avenue. So Spaceport would open up on a light scene of the Chaotix walking into the chemical plant, only for alarms to blare and a familiar sound to let off. Then the level would open up as it usually does, and for this line...
Break. Espio here. My team's engaging the enemy in the orbital tunnel. I think we can hold them off for now. No, wait! Watch out! The masked one's here. The monster that took down Sonic.
To have a bit more impact. The level goes as usual, and the level would end on a scene where you meet Rouge, who is revealed to be the intel for their operation, and you'd fly up into the sky. The scene would end on the Chaotix still fighting Infinite and being left behind. Infinite would see them go up into the sky, but Espio would convince Infinite to stay and continue fighting them. We would then move on to the scene in Ghost Town. Tails is alone, and he's trying to fix Omega. He fails, and then Chaos shows up. The same thing happens where he tries to attack Tails, but he actually makes an attempt to be brave and fight him, but fails. It's been a hard 6 months for him, and we'll see more of that later on. But then, Classic Sonic appears and stomps Chaos, who decides to make a retreat. I'm gonna get murdered for this, but Classic Sonic would talk in this game for the simple reason of character development, and it just works better for the story I'm trying to tell with Forces. Classic Sonic would try to explain to Tails what happened with the Phantom Ruby and everything. Tails would be confused, and Sonic would insist he has to remember that it had to have happened to him before. So Tails lies about it, saying that he does remember. Oh yeah, and Classic Sonic would be voiced by Jaleel White. And then we get back to Omega. Tails continues to try to fix him a little, and Omega does wake up. However, here's the thing. Omega is there, but Tails explains that his memory chip is fried, but he's still able to carry out commands like he can follow, attack, that sort of thing, but Omega isn't really himself. So Tails and Classic Sonic have this new goal of trying to fix Omega, which can only be done back at Tails' lab. So their goal is to get all the way down to from wherever Sunset Heights is, down to the Mystic Ruins where Tails' lab is. So, yeah. And then Ghost Town. The comms would be a lot of exposition about what went down with the world and explaining to Classic Sonic. The level would end, and we'd have a heartwarming scene of them on the Red Gate Bridge, talking about how Tails has lost hope. Classic Sonic would then give off a memory about how, when they were younger, he'd always tell him that things were going to be okay, and that, hey, he'd be able to do that here too. They were going to save the day. Getting back to the Resistance, we're in Prison Hall, and that opens with Eggman having a meeting with his generals on the Death Egg. We'd get a little insight on them and learn about a little bit of infighting between them, but then the alarms go off, and we see the Resistance is in the Death Egg. He tries to call Infinite, but he's busy fighting the Chaotix, so Eggman sends out the other generals instead. Metal Sonic will be there to start an attack, only for Chaos to wash them out, and Shadow will be on standby. He's about to order Zavok, only to find that he's gone. A very angry Eggman would ask, "Where is Zavok?" To which we cut to him approaching a prison cell, to a very eerie version of the Deadly Sixth move. So then the level would open up on the Resistance retreating since they're confronted by both Chaos and Metal. They're split up and gotta make a retreat, the rookies following Amy's guidance on their way back to the ship. The level would end as it did. Then we'd return to Zavok, and it's pretty much the same. The prisoners are there, and they're cheering Sonic on. A few "Go Sonics" and "Kick his butt" are thrown in there as well. There are cheers all around, especially during the part where Sonic wails on Zavok. Rather than disappearing though, the platform would get smaller and smaller, and Zavok would fall down the chasm. Sonic would jump off and try to free the other prisoners, only for Shadow to storm in, telling Sonic to get back into his cell right away. The prisoners would insist that Sonic run, and not to worry about them, that they'll be fine. Reluctantly, Sonic makes a run for it, and swears that he'll come back for them. A-Gate would then start, and the level would have Shadow chasing after you as a nod to SA2 with Sonic and Shadow in space. Near the end, you'd manage to get away from Shadow and leave him behind before making your way back onto the Death Egg. Sonic would then save our custom character like normal, only for Infinite to arrive and destroy their shuttle. With no way out, he would then make a statement about who he is and that the Resistance is going to die now. And that's when he'd be shot by a massive laser blast, revealing the Chaotix on a shuttle of their own. quickly telling everyone to get in now. We're going back to the base, and that's all good. Sonic would say that it would be great to head back to Sunset, and Knuckles would say that that's not quite where they're going. So with that, Sonic would ask where, and they'd look out the window to see the shuttle heading to Angel Island. Only it's a little different with Pachacamax's village there as well. Knuckles would explain that a lot has changed in the past 6 months, and then you get a little notification saying, Episode Knuckles unlocked! So let's divert for a moment and do Episode Knuckles. Episode Knuckles would open up exactly where this left off. Sonic is asking Knuckles about what happened as they're flying to Angel Island, and Knuckles would explain what happened. So first, you'd have level 1 of Episode Knuckles, which would more or less be the comic stress test, where Eggman goes through the village and Angel Island with Chaos, and Silver and Knuckles chase after him. The middle would be a boss fight with Chaos for Knuckles on Angel Island. You'd win, and the scene would go down with a very worn-out Silver Knuckles, pretty exhausted, as Chaos is ready to defeat them, only for Tikal to intervene and plead for Chaos to stop. He would, and would make his escape with Eggman. Knuckles and Silver would talk to Tikal, and Tikal would admit that she doesn't know Knuckles, but also says that Chaos has been anchored by the Echidna because they slaughtered the Chow. They try to go off only to be stopped by Pachacamax himself, who would be very hostile with them and stop Tikal from leaving the island with Silver and Knuckles. The next cutscene would be Sonic in the present saying, okay, but that still doesn't really explain why our base is here now. To which Knuckles takes the story back to the initial attack on Sunset Heights 6 months ago. You have a cutscene in Sunset Heights where Knuckles is helping rescuing people and that the battle's going pretty great and that Sonic is even on the scene, so they should have things going no problem. But then everything goes crazy at that moment. The Resistance have confirmed sighting of all the villains. Tails is not responding, and to make things worse, Shadow is attacking the Resistance base. It's crazy. Knuckles is called back to the Resistance base to give Amy a hand, and the level would be Knuckles racing back to the Resistance base. When he arrives, he finds Amy fighting Shadow and the base half destroyed. Knuckles steps in, but they fail to defeat him. And with that, Shadow unleashes a Chaos Blast on the Resistance base. With that, their base is destroyed. Shadow is marked as a traitor. Sonic and Tails have disappeared, and they look to Knuckles, asking him what to do now that their base is destroyed. Knuckles then takes them all to Angel Island. Pachacamax has agreed to let the Resistance stay as long as they keep to one building, and Tikal is never to join their conflict. The flashback would go back to Sonic asking about Tails, and he'd tell him that he doesn't know what happened to him, and that they were never able to find him. And that's Episode Knuckles. With that, you land, and Amy gives Sonic a bear hug and all. And with that, you're able to explore the hub that is the Angel Island Resistance HQ, with the choice of either Sonic or your custom character. It's more like the hubs in 06 and Unleashed, where you can run, but you're boost locked. NPCs of both the Echidna and the Resistance will be there, and you get a tutorial on how to use the hub before Knuckles finally calls you back for your next mission. The scene would open up on that One Forces trailer, you know, the one that's cartoony and I'm probably playing in the background right now. But yeah, it would open up on that, and Knuckles would explain that Eggman has been broadcasting garbage like that since his takeover. Knuckles says he wants to tell the world that Sonic is alive, and he figures the best way to do that is by broadcasting his return on TV. But they're going to need to hack the airwaves in order to do that. But luckily, their spy knows exactly how to do that. Rouge explains that Eggman has a television broadcasting facility out near Metropolis that controls the airwaves, and that the only way to take control of the system is to go there. Knuckles then explains that the plan is simple. For the rookie to go to the facility and take care of things with Rouge and a squad of OCs to turn things on. Knuckles will stay back to broadcast their message as Resistance leader. Their mission will be to take back Sunset Heights, to really show that Sonic is back. Silver and Chaotix will start things off with Charmy on the camera. Since people have already looked to Silver and Espio as heroes in Sonic's absence, all eyes will be on them, so they've got to make it big. When the time is right, Sonic will come out and declare that he's back on live television and take back Sunset Heights. But your custom character isn't too pleased with that. You argue that it's your home and that you should be the one to save it. You shouldn't be left out of the mission to save Sunset Heights. But Knuckles retorts that they have a mission and that this isn't about what you want. Your character reluctantly agrees, and before you split off, you grab Sonic and tell him to please save your home, and Sonic promises you that he will. So it's off to work. First off, you're headed to the television facility. But what is the television facility exactly? Studiopolis Zone! This would be a modernized version of Studiopolis that the Avatar would run through. It would be bright and colorful and have a ton of fun for you to run through, mixed in with some sort of lyrical Studiopolis theme, and it's great. But just as you're about to get to the place to hack the broadcast, Infinite appears and is flying out in front of you before he activates the Phantom Ruby. It makes a very familiar set of bosses appear. Oh yeah, that's right, it's the hard-boiled heavies. Infinite would immediately retreat, and you and the squad would take on the hard-boiled heavies. So you take on the heavy gunner while Rouge and the others split off into different paths, and you'd occasionally spot them fighting in the background. But you'd get there and be able to hack the Eggman's TV. We then go to Sunset Heights, where we see Silver and Chaotix looking at each other, getting ready to go out and start a fight in Sunset, and so they do, going up to the Death Egg robot. With that, we get a scene opening up on television sets around the world, where people are looking around confused at the programming change, before finally, Knuckles would be on the screen. He'd make a speech about the Resistance and fighting back, and all, and the war wages on. And with that, there'd be live footage of Silver & Co. fighting some Death Egg robots. Knuckles would then make a comment about how Eggman has taken so much, but the Resistance has something they want to give back, and that is hope. With that, the level would open up. Charmy would be on the camera while Sonic is running through Sunset Heights. The level would go roughly the same, but I'd make a few changes. First off, as you continue through the level, more and more people would be coming out and cheering on Sonic being back. He's alive! Amy would be informing us about how things are going all over the world, saying how great things are going, and more people are tuning in to see Sonic's return. The other thing I do is have a few instances where Death Egg robots would destroy paths that you're running on, and stuff like that, and occasional QuickTime events involving Silver, SBO, Vector, and the Death Egg robots to show that they're still around. Sunset Heights would overall be a very cool level. The next level would show Eggman within one of the pyramid bases, saying that he'll show the world that their hope is dead, and would then deploy Metal Sonic. We'd have a scene where Sonic is running along in the city, smiling and feeling good and all, and people are cheering, when all of a sudden, people are starting to cry out in fear, and then flying alongside him is Metal Sonic, and with that, the level would jump straight into the boss fight. Of course, Sonic would kick him to the curb, and needless to say, it would have a huge impact since they did it live in front of the entire world. They'd retake Sunset Heights, and with that, Charmy would ask Sonic to say something for the people at home. Sonic would smile and give some slightly inspirational but pretty informal stuff saying that, hey, they should join the Resistance. And while on TV, we'd go back to the Avatar in Studiopolis Zone, who's looking up at Sonic on the big screen and smiling and whispering, thank you. And then the scene would end. We'd be thrown into a classic Sonic level at that point, and it's in Green Hill Zone. Sonic, Tails, and Omega are there, and it goes roughly the same. They'd run into Eggman, who was talking to Infinite as usual. Eggman would note that the Resistance was able to free Sonic from the Death Egg, and that it's only a matter of time before he does something. Tails would note that Sonic is alive, and Classic Sonic would make a note how Infinite has the Phantom Ruby. During the conversation, an alarm would go off on Eggman's console, and Eggman would note that there's been a security breach in Studiopolis Zone, that Infinite should go and handle it, and that he'll meet him back at the Pyramid Base soon. Infinite flies off to take care of it, and that's when Classic Sonic and Omega come out to attack Eggman. The boss goes the same, only I'd make it a little more interesting than just hitting rocks back at the Egg Dragoon. Tails and Eggman would talk, and Eggman calls Classic Sonic a younger Sonic rather than one from another dimension. Although, as it turns out, the Egg Dragoon is actually powered by Chaos Emerald this time around, and they managed to take it from Eggman in the fight. With that, he retreats to the Pyramid Base, and of course, that's when he sees the Resistance on television and deploys Metal Sonic. But with the trio, they know that Eggman told that guy to go to Studiopolis, so if the Resistance is there, that might be a good place to check out. Then we return to Resistance HQ and do stuff. It's cool. Then, Knuckles points out that they are showing the world that Sonic is back, has done a lot for the world, and people have begun to rally. Eggman and his generals have had their hands full in trying to keep the peace all over the world. The only place that hasn't responded is Metropolis, so because of that, they want to send members of the Resistance all over the world to help the people on the ground. So because of that, Knuckles sends you and your avatar to a new location exclusive to my version of Forces. It would be a sort of South American city area similar to something from Samba de Amigo or the Desert Kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey, while others will be headed elsewhere to help the cause in other cities around the world. So you've got your first tag team mission in the South American city zone to help out people and all that jazz. The only problem is the general of Eggman's army that is stationed there is Infinite, and you have your first encounter with him in a tag team boss battle. During the boss battle, Infinite talks about how easily he defeated Sonic, and having a random weakling like us won't help him. But the battle's won, and he tries to finish Sonic in the custom character, only for Mighty and Ray to appear and attack him. He'd be surprised with you, Sonic, Mighty, and Ray staring him down, so he decides to retreat, swearing that he'll get revenge on you guys. With that, you'd address Mighty and Ray and how Sonic hasn't seen them in years. It's a nice little reunion between old friends. They say that they've been having adventures of their own, and that they saw Sonic on TV. They wanted to join the Resistance, and so they do. Mighty and Ray would have similar roles of just being Resistance fighters like the Chaotix though. But with that said, we return to Omega, Tails, and Classic Sonic, who would enter Studiopolis only to find it run down and broken after the Resistance had done a number on the place. The in-level dialogue would be Sonic talking about how he knows this place, how the two of them had fun in this place with Knuckles during their past adventure, and Tails would just be confused at first, but lie about it saying that, oh yeah, of course I remember Studiopolis. But of course, the Resistance has already left, and they continue on through the world, and continue on to Tails' lab down in the Mystic Jungle, hoping that somehow they'll run into Sonic or the Resistance. In the meantime, we then get a cutscene of Eggman and the Uprising in Metropolis, and they're addressing the problem presented by the Resistance, how they're continuing their criminal acts and all of that. It goes well for them. But after that, they go backstage to talk, and Eggman announces that Zavok has a chance to redeem himself. They plan to continue the deforestation of the Mystic Jungle so that there's more room for the casino, and Eggman's feeling explosive. He tells Zavok not to screw this up. And so, the Resistance would catch wind of it, and they'd send everyone to try and contain the problem. First up, you have Sonic in Luminous Forest, and he does pretty much the same thing. Then you've got the Avatar, who we go back to the beginning of the level, where you see your custom character and Sonic running alongside each other, only for a massive hand to grab onto you and stop you right in your tracks as Sonic runs along. Your OC would be confused, only to look into the face of none other than Big the Cat, asking you to please help him find his frog. You try to get back to Sonic, only for him to drag you away Diddy Kong style in the Subspace Emissary. And so, off the road happens with Big the Cat, and you're looking for Froggy. It's supposed to be a dumb and kind of funny mission, and you do eventually find him in the end. You then go back to Sonic, and the level would open up on Sonic speaking into the comms about how he found the cause of the problem in the Mystic Jungle. The scene would then pan and show Zavok, who's being ridiculously overkill with setting the forest on fire. He's on top of one of the giant mechanical dragon things from Sonic Lost World, and he's got two more flanking him as they shoot down deadly optical beams on the forest. So Sonic would be ordered to stop him, and that's when the second boss battle with Zavok would begin. The boss would involve you quick-stepping to avoid the destruction caused by the 3 dragons, and you would get to a point where you could home in on the tail and get onto the top. From the top, you'd have to do more quick-stepping to avoid electrified parts of the mechanical dragons before you would meet up with Zavok at the end and either homing attack or boost into him. During the fight, you'd run through not only the forest, but parts of the casino and the ruins, which you'll see why later. Repeat 3 times and add in your Zavok taunting dialogue, and it would be over. The mechanical dragons would crash down and make a clearing in the forest, and Zavok would land flat on his face, knocked out cold. Ironically enough, in the clearing, you'd run into Big and your OC, and Sonic would be like, "Oh, there you are." You'd have light dialogue with Big telling you about how he and Froggy want to join the Resistance now, and that sort of jazz. And Sonic would be like, "Yeah, sure." We'd have a scene after where Eggman and Infinite find and reprimand Zavok for what just happened, how not only did he manage to lose to Sonic again, but he managed to destroy parts of the casino as well. Eggman then proceeds to say that he is unfit for the Empire and that he's done. Zavok has been officially removed from his spot as general. Furious, Zavok tries to attack Eggman, only for Infinite to teleport him back to the Lost Hex. And that's it for part 1. In part 2, we'll be wrapping things up. What do you think so far? Do you like this? Do you dislike it? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video, want to hear more from Lyoko, then please like and subscribe. Follow my social media at Tumblr, Twitter, and Discord, all linked below. With all of that being said, this has been the Lyoko, over and out.